Hey guys, Kelade here. So you guys might notice something a little bit differently about my character right now. I am, yes, in a soul shape form. I have switched over to Night Fae. I switched about 2 days ago. It took me 2 nights of playing to get to Renown 31, which is the big break point, because at Renown 31, you can access the first and the third soul bind all the way to the end. So important thing is you want to get to Nia's Tools BiS and you want to get to First Strike for Mythic Plus and AoE. I'll get into why I'm doing this. The only thing I won't get into in this video is how it feels, because I did just hit this last night and I have not had the chance to go into raid with this or go into Mythic Plus with this yet. So I'll have a follow video on that. I also want to talk about like some recent changes that has happened for warriors. I guess potential why things have changed. One of the biggest things for Soulbind Renown, if I get into like the whole like planning process of the expansion and the season and the raid, right, is that when we were doing progression rating for most of the mythic guilds, right, my guild included, you weren't able, there's no way you were going to get to this last row of soul binds or even these last row of potency before the raid finished. I think the only way that was possible was if you were Night Fae and you were Dreamweaver. It was possible to get both of these two condency depending on your current progression, right, before it realistically ended. And this is more so talking about like if you want to make it into like the Hall of Fame, right? That's kind of like where you're aiming for. Now, obviously, there's still people progressing right now. And at this point, right, the maximum right now, I think this week is like 34. So yes, you can definitely hit the bottom ranks of every single tree as of this week, right? So as far as progressing aside, that's one thing to take into consideration is that potential covenants and trees that have really, really strong like last row of soul binds were most likely not considered when people are thinking about like what's the best and what's the strongest, right? And also depending on like what part you want damage in, right? How much people value the execute damage that can bring, and so forth. The reason why also, if I just get into like the trees here, essentially as Night Fae, as a Fury Warrior, you're gonna go for two separate trees, right? You're gonna go for Nia for single target, right? The strong thing is you wanna go Death and Insanity here for the potency conduit, and then you wanna go Nia's Tools BiS as the soul bind here. This is the reason why it can sim so well. I'll see how much it actually does. Seems like the damage might not always be the same and the consistent. We'll see how it works out in a raid. And then as far as for AoE or Mythic Plus, once again, you want to go Death and Insanity as the potency conduit, and then you want to come down here to First Strike. This is what's really strong. So every time you damage a new enemy that you haven't hit yet, you get a 25% increased chance to critical strike for 5 seconds. Now, 25%, that is significant. Because it's even more than Recklessness, right? Recklessness actually only gives you 20% crit. Now it gives you the rage generation, but right, this trait actually gives you more crit than that. This is something that's bad for us, but turns out to be beneficial in some ways, is that every time you hit a new enemy, it'll keep proccing. So because we're target capped to like 5 targets, let's say your tank pulls like 10 ads, you're gonna get this buff longer than 5 seconds, because every time you hit like one of those other 5 ads that you didn't initially hit with your first like whirlwind cleave, right, you can extend this duration longer. And on a boss fight, let's say like Stone Legion, where new ads spawn, right, every time you're DPSing the new ads, you're gonna have this increased critical strike chance. So that's why potentially this is very, very strong for Mythic Plus. Your damage should go up significantly. Those are the reasons why this switch is that one should be significantly stronger for Mythic Plus and AoE, and single target doesn't even fall behind, right? If you look at my sims here, for example, so this is the Night Fae Soulbind, right? With the Nia's Tools BiS, and then it is simming higher than, when you see like Venthyr here, right? So like this is the first instance that Venthyr shows up. And for Venthyr, the best single target, right, is with Nadia, and it's with the Dauntless Duelist. So this is simming higher. So because of that, it's not really a reason to not want to test it, especially because we're done with progression anyways. The other thing to note is that Fury Legendary has also changed from, right, now this is probably news that's a couple weeks old, but Deathmaker was the best, but there was a couple reasons why Signet is the best now. One is it looks like when you proc an avatar on Signet, it actually wasn't giving you the buff correctly. So that's something that somebody has raised, and it's been fixed on, right, raid bots and SimC and all that stuff. So that's definitely a good change that's happened. So now it's simming correctly, and people are using it correctly. And also, of course, as far as for like when you want to use this, you're basically going to be, if you're proccing on pull, you're basically canceling a brainstorm if you full on rage or if you can like condemn the target, right? Now clearly with Night Fae you can't condemn, but it's the same thing if you're like an execute phase, right? That's quote unquote when you would cancel it. But now that's proccing correctly. And of course, if you're wearing the Signet Torment Kings, then you're always going to go with Blaze Storm, right? And then the other change I would say for talents is that because if you are switching from Venthyr to Night Fae, you no longer have to put so much of your damage into Condemn anymore. So you actually don't go Massacre anymore. You're actually going Frenzy, which gives you a significant haste. And then also for your talents here, I'll most likely choose between Rex's Bandit and Siege Breaker for like pure single target stuff. For AoE, you're still going to go Anger Management just because you want better cooldown and Recklessness, just so you can potentially proc more Blaze Storms, right? And that's kind of where we line up right now. Yeah, don't mind my lightest force. This is just for Mythic Plus. And then the other thing is, I think potentially if you're N geared or you're less geared, it might not seem the same too. I'm fairly confident that my high amounts of haste definitely does attribute to why Night Fae is something better for me. So definitely sim your own characters, right? See what it looks like. All you have to do when you go into sims. So here, if you scroll down, right, you can come down all the way down here, and there will be an option here to unlock all soul binds. And that will allow you to, sim different soul binds. Now, of course, if you're currently Venthyr, then there's going to be an option to select this. You can sim it right now and see how that works out for your character, and see if you want to make the switch. But the other thing also is that some of you guys might ask, like, how do you get Renown so fast, right? So there's a few things with Renown, is that there's currently the max Renown you can get, and then there's ways you can guarantee get Renown every week, right? So there's that 2 Renown quest. One is the get 1,000 anima, and the other one is collect these souls, right? The return lost souls. I think I actually bugged it out somehow this week, and I got 2 of these quests. I think this one's bugged, and it's not going to be able to be done. But the other thing is you can have 9 Renown from your campaign missions, right? Every one of these campaign missions is going to give you 1. So take that into also consideration. Your callings also, they also give Renown. Now, I've seen people comment on certain places that they've gotten callings that don't give Renown. I might have just gotten really lucky, but this is my 5th calling so far, and I've gotten Renown every single one, right? Because the first day I had 3 callings because I didn't do any callings the week before. So I started Tuesday with 3, right? I got 1 yesterday. This is a new one today. They've all had Renown for me. So assume that's very, very good chance. The other thing is World Boss guarantees 1 Renown, right? Now, these things that guarantee 1 Renown, generally just to be safe, you can save it for later. What you can do is you do the more repeated events, right? So I can't confirm arenas. Like any of this PvP stuff gives it, including 2s. I did get a Renown from 2s. You can do heroics, right? You can just do normal dungeons. You can do Mythic Plus. They can give Renown. But I would only suggest doing something like a heroic spam, like very, very early on. Like basically I got from like Renown, I don't know, like 2 to 7 through heroics. And then after that, I did a bunch of Mythic Plus. Never got a single Renown in Mythic Plus. The absolute best way to get Renown, as far as for like the catch-up part, is to do the raid. All difficulties of the raid. So every raid, right, there's 10 bosses. For me, yesterday, I did a full clear of normal. 4 bosses dropped me Renown, so I got +4 Renown there. I did almost a full clear of Raid Finder. I didn't do Artificer because there was something weird with the queues. 9 bosses. I'm pretty sure I also got 4 there too. And I haven't done Heroic and Mythic yet this week. I would assume if I do, I might get 1 or 2 more, right? Because I'm still not fully capped yet. So 100%, the best way to catch up Renown is, one is, yes, run some Heroic spam initially to get that initial Renown number up. And then the raid gives so much Renown. And then, do your callings, and then do potential, the 2 guarantee stuff. And then, of course, your 9 campaign guarantee Renowns. That's how you can get Renown really, really quickly. That would be my suggestion of doing them. Doing Mythic Plus seems to just be a horrible way to like farm Renown. I never got a single one. And then the other thing, of course, is that if you guys always are curious of what I'm doing on my characters at all times, I pretty much, I think, out of the last 30 days, streamed 28 days on Twitch. So you guys can always come out, check out the Twitch stream. If there's like any new stuff like Night Fae, right? We've been talking about this for a while. There's any new stuff with like single target legendaries using Signet, talking about it for a while. So check out the stream if you want like some more updated things. Whereas for YouTube, A lot of times it's like postings that I've done, with the exception of this whole Night Fae thing, so I think a lot of people have questions about it. I will have a follow video once I take this Night Fae into the raid and see how it performs. But as always, thanks for checking out the video, guys. Feel free to subscribe to see more. See ya.